He was the one guy holding a multi-million-dollar company together. For years, they underpaid him, disrespected him, and took credit for his work. So when he finally put in his 2 weeks' notice, they just laughed. They stopped laughing when his departure didn't just cost them a few clients, it triggered a chain reaction that bankrupted the entire business and exposed every last one of their dirty secrets. This isn't just a story about quitting a job. It's a story about what happens when a company's most valuable asset finally walks out the door, and the whole rotten structure comes crashing down. You know, the type, in almost every company, there's a person like Liam. They aren't in the flashy sales department, and they don't have a fancy C-suite title. They are the quiet professionals, the ones who know how things actually work. For a mid-size electronics retailer called Apex Innovations, Liam was more than just an IT specialist. He was the ghost in the machine. He was the only person on earth who understood the monstrous, cobbled-together system that ran their entire operation. It was a Frankenstein's monster of decade-old inventory software, custom sales trackers written in a dead programming language, and a tangled web of spreadsheets all duct-taped together. This mess. This was the central nervous system for Apex Innovations, and for 12 long years, Liam had been its only neurosurgeon. When the system would create ghost inventory, showing products in stock that didn't exist, Liam would dive into the code and perform an exorcism. When holiday sales pricing failed to apply, costing the company thousands per hour, Liam was the one who could manually force the change. He didn't just maintain the system, he was its life support, but that loyalty came at a cost. Liam was constantly overlooked. He was the lowest paid manager in the company. Even though his role was arguably the most critical, his requests for a support team were always denied. His warnings about the system's fragility were brushed off as him being negative. Then, new management came in, led by a slick CEO named Marcus, who spoke only in buzzwords like synergy and disruption. The company culture shifted from quiet competence to loud arrogance. Marcus brought in his nephew, Chad, as the new operations manager. Chad's only qualification was his last name. He saw Liam's ancient system not as a critical asset, but as an embarrassing relic. He'd openly mock Liam in meetings, calling him a dinosaur and bragging about how he'd replace his life's work with some trendy app he saw on a podcast. The final insult came after Liam single-handedly prevented a catastrophic data loss during a server migration. The very next day, a company-wide email went out from Marcus praising Chad's proactive leadership in the digital transformation. Liam didn't even get a thank you. He just got another year of his salary frozen, while Marcus and Chad took home six-figure bonuses. That injustice was no longer a dull ache. It was a screaming fire. The breaking point for a quiet professional is rarely a loud explosion. It's a small, quiet snap. For Liam, that snap came on a Tuesday afternoon. His sister was getting married, and he'd requested a single Friday off, months in advance. The day was approved. But 2 days before the wedding, Chad strolled over to his desk with a smug look on his face. "Hey, buddy," he started. "Gonna need you to cancel that day off? We're doing a, critical inventory audit." Liam knew it was a total lie. There was no audit. It was a petty power play, just to show who was in charge. Of course, Marcus backed his nephew, telling Liam to be more of a team player. In that one moment, 12 years of loyalty just evaporated. Liam didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He simply turned to his monitor, typed up a short, professional letter, and printed it. He walked into Marcus's glass office, placed the letter on the desk, and said, "Here is my 2 weeks' notice." Now, it's worth remembering that in most at-will employment situations, 2 weeks' notice is just a professional courtesy, not a legal requirement. An employee can leave whenever they want, but Liam was a professional, and he was going to do this by the book. Marcus and Chad were stunned for a second. Then they got amused. They actually laughed. "You think you're irreplaceable, Liam?" Marcus scoffed. "We were already planning on replacing that mess you call a system. Don't let the door hit you on the way out." And so began Liam's final 2 weeks of masterclass in malicious compliance. "Train your replacement," Chad ordered. Liam did. He brought in Chad's equally unqualified friend and gave him a tour. He showed him which buttons to press and which reports to run. He even gave him the user manual, one that described how the system was supposed to work, not the reality of its 100 different glitches and the secret rituals needed to keep it from. He didn't share the tribal knowledge. He didn't explain that the weekly sales report had to be exported, manually edited in Notepad to remove a single invisible character, and then re-imported, or it would corrupt the entire database. He didn't provide the personal cell number of the retired developer in Florida. Only other person alive who could fix the payment gateway when it crashed. He didn't document the bizarre multi-step process for reconciling shipping manifests, a process that existed only in his head. He was the perfect employee, fulfilling his duties to the letter of the law, knowing full well that the spirit of the law was the only thing keeping the company afloat. On his last day, he cleaned his desk, returned his laptop, and walked out the door at 5 o'clock Policial Militar on the dot. He didn't look back. The time bomb had been set. The collapse didn't happen all at once. It started quietly. On Monday, day 3, without Liam, a small error popped up. The website and the warehouse inventory stopped syncing. A few dozen customers ordered items that were out of stock. Annoying, but not a disaster. Liam's replacement, following the manual, was lost. Chad just told him to be a problem solver. By Friday, that quiet problem was a full-blown crisis. Hundreds of orders were wrong. The financial software could unmake sense of the mismatched data and was just a sea of red error messages. The deficit was already in the tens of thousands. You could feel the panic creeping into the office. They tried calling Liam, straight to voicemail. They tried his personal email, no response. The second week was the corporate equivalent of a heart attack. The first of the month arrived, and with it, the automated payment system for their suppliers was set to run. This was a process. Liam always handled himself because it had a critical bug that needed a manual override. Without him, the system froze. Multi-million-dollar payments to their biggest suppliers were halted. Within 48 hours, those suppliers cut off Apex's credit line and stopped all shipments. The store's shelves started to look empty. The dominoes fell faster and faster. With no new stock, sales cratered. With the sales data completely corrupted, they couldn't generate accurate reports for their investors. And Chad's miracle app, the sales rep told him it would take 6 months and a massive 6-figure fee just to try and migrate the data from their old system to the system. Nobody left at the company understood. The full story of the downfall came to Liam in text from Sarah, a former colleague in accounting. They tried to run payroll manually, overpaid half the staff, and underpaid the other half. It's chaos. A few days later, Chad got fired. Marcus screamed at him in front of everyone. And then, the final message, a link to a news article. The headline read, Apex Innovations files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy amidst accusations of financial mismanagement. Sarah explained that Liam's departure did more than just break the company's systems. Turns out, his flawless management had been unintentionally hiding years of corrupt and incompetent financial practices by Marcus and his cronies. Once the system failed, the numbers no longer added up, and the whole fraudulent house of cards was exposed. The company wasn't just broke, it was now the subject of a major investigation. Months later, Liam was at a new tech company. He was respected, well-paid, and leading a team of bright young developers. He was teaching them how to build systems the right way, robust, clean, and well-documented. He never gloated about what happened to Apex. He didn't have to. His revenge wasn't loud or angry. It was the quiet, inevitable consequence of arrogance and disrespect. See, the company didn't collapse just because he quit. It collapsed because it was already broken, held together by a single, underappreciated person. Management thought they were cutting loose a relic of the past, but they were actually severing their own lifeline. They learned the hard way that a person has real value is you unjust in the work they do, but in the chaos they prevent. And sometimes, the most devastating thing an employee can do is simply stop. So, if you've ever felt unappreciated at a job or know what it's like to be the only one holding things together, hit that like button. For more stories of karmic justice and workplace revenge, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. We want to hear your stories, too. So let us know about your own experiences with malicious compliance in the comments below.